My name is Patricia Gilley. Everyone calls me Trish. I practice in rural county in Rockingham County in North Carolina. It's at the southern border of Virginia. It's a fairly large county, and we have lots of disparities and lots of underserved and unserved populations in the county. I have been doing this nursing in the community now for about 12 years. This is a personal story that I'm very passionate about. I was practicing nursing in a large hospital near us and was doing cardiac step-down nursing and had been there for over 26 years. I am very much, at times, a creature of habit and loved the cardiac nursing. However, due to an injury, I was no longer able to work at bedside nursing any longer, and it was a huge nudge and a higher power that kind of gave me the push to look in the other direction that has brought me to where I'm at today. In that time, I was unknowingly being prepared to work with the populations that I serve now. I was not able to work for about 3 years. In that time, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what direction to go in, where I wanted to work, but I was drawn to a form of nursing that I had heard from a friend. Some may not have ever heard of it, but it's either congregational nursing, or a lot of people know it as parish nursing. And it is a board recognized certification that you can get. However, there was nothing like that in the county that I was serving, so I just started looking online, and things just kind of started to fall in place. And I started just by doing that on my own, and registering for that course was met with some other nurses that work in the Guilford County area that had already started a similar program and sought me out and said, we've heard you're doing this on your own. What are your thoughts? Well, the county that I live in was a large textile manufacturer community, and a lot of those jobs left the county, and that left a lot of people in poverty and not knowing where to turn. And I was sharing that this is needed in our county. We need to have someone out in the community that can sit down and talk to these patients. So in that transpired that we were able to get grant funding and started a program. So I was able to start that program in 2011 with another nurse with no resources, no connections. And we just rode all over the county, talking to people and connecting to people and trying to form those bridges so that we could have resources for the people that we would meet. In that, I have made so many contacts and so many resources, and it has been such a blessing in my life. This is not a job that I go to. This is a ministry that I look at, that I have the privilege and the ability to really practice the true art of nursing, that I can just be present and give the person that I'm sitting with as much time as they need. A lot of the patients that I serve have not ever had anyone to listen to their story, to listen to what they need, and to try to help connect them and make them feel like they are important. I love doing what I do. I spend a lot of time, our disparities are transportation, patients getting to appointments, following up appointments, a lot of education, just using my skills in different ways and just trying to connect and search for resources for them. It has truly made all the difference, I hope, in many of the people's lives that I have encountered, and it has truly, really impacted my life. I am so honored to be a part of this group, and it's a lot of wonderful individuals, and I look forward to learning more about you all.
I am a registered nurse and a clinical nurse educator working out of Wauka, Saskatchewan. So I'm a prairie small town girl, lived and worked in rural most of my life. small town hospitals, acute and emergency. I support education needs for our acute and emergency nurses at present. And I've also worked at our large trauma center for a couple of years in Saskatoon. I've always loved nursing. I've spent most of my career in rural. Some people think that working in rural is easy, but those of us who have worked it know differently. Rural nursing is a specialty in itself. One of my good friends works in a large urban emergency department and tells everyone, I'm not smart enough or brave enough to work rural. I know she would rock it, but she recognizes the lack of resources and the great deal of challenges we face working in a rural setting. For the first several years of my career, I did not have access to an educator and I had very few educational opportunities. I always loved attending educational events and committed myself to lifelong learning. When my manager announced that she was creating positions for rural clinical nurse educators and recommended that I apply, I was ecstatic. Although I didn't know it at the time, I had found my niche. My heart is in nursing education, especially for rural. I felt privileged to have been selected from many applicants as one of the successful candidates for these jobs. As access to education had always been a challenge for both my manager and me, Pat had a vision that the new CNEs would be able to run and teach the higher level courses on their own, both saving tons of money and increasing accessibility for rural nurses. And so the journey to become instructors in the Trauma Nursing Core Course, or TNCC, Advanced Cardiovascular Life Support, or ACLS, and the Canadian Triage and Acuity Scale, or CTAS, began. Pat tasked me with seeking out opportunities to attain my TNCC instructor status for my coworker and me. I found 2 individuals in the province that could potentially help. Protocol dictated that I start with my own northern area. I applied for the instructor course, and although I met all of the requirements, I was told that the instructors were chosen based on their experience in larger emergency departments or air ambulance. And she had to ensure there were enough courses for the new instructors to teach. When I informed the course director that our goal was to offer TNCC in our rural sites, she told me that I had to teach for at least 5 years before I could teach independently. So basically, because I was a rural nurse, it would be very difficult for me to attain my instructor status. However, what she didn't know about me is that my biggest motivator is being told that I can't do something. After receiving a firm no from the north, I reached out to Jerry in the south. He thankfully agreed to help me. Once I was able to take my TNCC instructor course and teach TNCC for the first time, I was hooked. I taught many courses under the excellent leadership and mentorship of Jerry. Jerry knew that my ultimate goal was to become a course director and be able to run TNCC independently for rural staff. Before he retired, he helped me reach this goal. During the time when I was going through these struggles, word spread to our NENA board. At the national conference in 2011, they pulled me aside to speak to me and give me their words of encouragement. This meant the world to me that they were behind me 100% and would ensure that someone would assist me. I vowed that I would not let this happen to anyone else and would always help people if they needed it. Over the last 10 years, I have attained instructor status in TNCC, ACLS, and CTAS. I am an instructor trainer in TNCC and CTAS, meaning I can run instructor courses and have taught the majority of new instructors in our province in the last 5 years. I also achieved instructor and instructor trainer status in the sister course to TNCC, the Emergency Nursing Pediatric course, or ENPC. I find it quite ironic that I'm now known as the TNCC, ENPC, and CTAS guru in our province, and everyone now comes to me for assistance and guidance. I have learned so much throughout this whole experience. My manager has always told me to say yes whenever I can, and that it's more about the people than the work that we do. We truly are helper people at work, and this experience has only made me more passionate to help others whenever I can, so they don't have to go through the same difficulties that I did. And remember that just because you're from rural doesn't mean you don't have the knowledge or experience that the city folks do. Sometimes you have even more.